I'm Chris Anderson. Welcome to these shared faculty office hours. I teach in the Department of Psychology. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by sharing some information about the curriculum in the psychology department, and then pass it over to Kelly. So we have 8 ongoing faculty members in the department. As you see here, we represent a lot of different areas in the field of psychology. So in the psychology major, it's actually relatively light in terms of major requirements. There's 11 units that go into the psychology major. The first is our introductory psychology course. And that's really different than what you find pretty much anywhere in the country. In the first semester, students take our course called Foundations of Psychological Science. And in that, it's a fairly larger lecture portion of the course, where students are then broken up to smaller groups of about 30 students, and then again into smaller groups at 16 to do laboratory-based learning. So really, in your very first semester, you're learning the techniques that psychologists use to conduct our science. All of our students take a statistics course in the department, research design and data analysis, that prepares folks for both their qualifying exams and then their thesis. And as you hopefully know by now from Reed, all of our students do a year-long intensive research project. In the psychology department, they pretty much all include doing independent research. So if you're doing human subjects research, you'd work with a psychologist who specializes in that area, go through institutional review board procedures, and then conduct your own study. So outside of those core courses in psychology, students also do an allied field. So allied fields, as you can see here, can be a variety of different domains. There's 6 additional courses outside of psychology. Students take courses in arts and literature, biophysical and computational sciences. So could be doing a lot of things in Kelly's department, for example. We have cognitive science, so folks who are interested in kind of augmenting their understanding of how human thought and decision making. Cross-cultural studies for people who would like to bring in aspects of culture and do these psychological phenomena as we study them in other courses. Are they cross-culturally relevant? And also history and social sciences. So students who have more of an interest in sort of the anthropology, political science, those areas can be integrated into your program. Some of you may be interested in the neuroscience major at Reed. That is a shared major between the biology department and the psychology department. Our students take courses in both departments. Often students who are interested in neuroscience may work with my colleagues in cognitive or behavioral neuroscience as a lot of their kind of core courses and advanced courses, but we share students across both departments. And the neuroscience majors, half of them may do their thesis work in psychology, while the other half would do it in biology. So that kind of gives you an overview of our academic program. In terms of research, all of us have very active research laboratories. We're very well outfitted in our department. So there's a number of us do human-based research. We also have an animal colony. So those folks who are doing work in learning and behavioral neuroscience can work with generally rats or pigeons. And then we also have EEG and ERP capability in the department. So just for time, I'm going to stop there and turn it over to Kelly.
Hi, I'm Kelly Mcconville. Welcome. So I teach in math and I'm a statistician. All right, so let's start with math. And so there is a bit of a hierarchy you go through to do the math major. So you would come in and you would start most likely in either calculus, or if you've taken calculus already, intro to analysis. And then you would sort of walk through the classes as those arrows have you do. And then along the way, you're going to also take I think it's 4 electives in math. I've listed below just a whole bunch of the various elective courses you could possibly take at some point. And so then if you want a statistics focus to your major, we're going to swap out a little bit of those classes. So that algebra class, we're going to swap out, and you'll take a probability and a mathematical statistics class. The 4 orange classes in the bottom, those would be our applied statistics classes. So right now I'm teaching data science, which is really quite fun. I just finished office hours, and currently my students are analyzing Call of the Wild, which maybe some of you read, so they're doing some text analysis on that right now. As I said, I would tell you a little bit also about CS. So I have now here on this slide the CS curriculum. So it does have some of the math courses in there, right? So still calculus, analysis, linear algebra, and discrete structures. But then also you see there's this CS1 and CS2 courses. So those are courses that then usually you would take in your first or second year. And then there are those other 3 required courses: algorithms, computability and complexity, and then systems. So we are also a very active research department. So in the summer, I would say the department typically has around 20-ish students around doing research in math or statistics. I'm a survey statistician, and so I like to work on problems where the data were collected under some complex sampling design, but I also have some big data. So in particular, I'm working with some students right now on counting trees in Alaska, because it turns out we don't know how many trees there are in Alaska, but there are many. And so we are using ground data, and also, so they're flying planes over the ground data, and they're sending down what's called LIDAR, which figures out the height of the canopy. So we're taking the height of the canopy and combining it with the counts to come up with a better estimate of how many trees we have in Alaska. So yeah, that's just one example, but there's lots of flavors of research going on in my department. So I will stop there and can move on to, I think, questions.
How is teaching at Reed different from teaching at other colleges? So I can start and then let Kelly add to that if that's okay. So I think the thing that really my students tell me, those who come to Reed and then go to large research institutions for their graduate work, is how much hands-on time you get with faculty. Even in this kind of unusual time that we're living with, I spent hours with my students over spring break even. My thesis students were wrapping up data collections and doing analysis, and I could sit with a student for 2 hours running analyses. One, it's the personal connection with students. I think it's also, I find teaching at Reed much more like when I was teaching graduate students. I think the level of intellectual engagement of students is much on par with that kind of passion for learning that I see in graduate students.
I would also say the senior thesis is a really unique, wonderful aspect of the Reed education, right? So you might not realize it now, but this idea of getting to work for a year with a faculty member on a project is really quite wonderful. And I mean, the mentoring that goes on and the relationship you develop and how you grow and learn and become a better researcher is a really great part of the Reed experience. So to me, those are 2 things that I found are unique to Reed, especially among liberal arts colleges. What do class sizes look like both for intro and advanced math classes? Okay, so at the intro level, we cap our classes at 24. For our upper level classes, it really can depend. I think it sort of ranges from somewhere between 10 to 24. I would say that the average is probably somewhere, at least for stats, is somewhere around 18.
Yeah, and I don't know if we just to give a little information on psychology, but so our introductory Foundations of Psychological Science class, the lecture is 96 students, and then students are broken into groups of 32 and then 16. So it's akin to what Kelly's talking about is, you know, when we get to 16, that's where we're doing the hands-on work. We don't use R extensively in psychology. We use Stata, but I think we're moving to R slowly across time. It varies, but typically at Reed, classes are no larger than 24. I wish you the best of luck as you're looking at different schools, and I hope you'll come play with us. We have a lot of fun.